Hello again, grade 12. We're doing chapter 10, e-communication. And it's all those wonderful things: encryption, SSL certificates, and firewalls. Right, talk about encryption. What is it? Encoding a message so that only authorized people can access it. Why do we want to do that? Because there's a chance of cyber criminals getting hold of information. Only way to turn encrypted data back into useful data is using an encryption key. So your encrypted message or information or data can only be decoded if the second party or another person has access to the key, the decryption key. So you have like a key for encryption, and that's important. Why? Well, usernames and passwords, encrypt them. So even if a website is hacked, the hackers can't see the username and passwords. And the encryption key is stored separately, so therefore the encrypted data stays safe. How does it work? So imagine a hacker's between you and a bank, and any message sent to the bank first passes through the hacker's computer before going to your bank. If the data is not encrypted, then the hacker can easily read your password before sending it to the bank. So we use websites that have a secure protocol, and it's got HTTPS in their URL, in their address on the top of their website. Must have an S there, which you can see what it stands for, and it means that they use encryption. And then you know you're safe. Alright, so what is SSL? SSL stands for Secure Sockets Layer. When you enter data on a normal HTTP website, the data is sent to the website as plain unencrypted text, and hackers can use different techniques to intercept the message and gain access to your information. Obviously that's the problem. So to stop this from happening, use HTTPS to encrypt any traffic. It's a protocol which uses Secure Sockets Layer. And remember, this is a protocol, HTTPS. What is Secure Sockets Layer? Well, that is part of that protocol which adds a security layer to any web page. Any message that is sent to the website first passes through the security layer, which encrypts the message before traveling to a website. And then when the website returns the information, it's once again sent through a secure layer and encrypted before sending to the user. So anyone who intercepts information will simply receive a scrambled, encrypted message that is useless to them. To see if a website's secure, you can look for the HTTPS, as well as look at a small icon, a lock icon next to its URL. The URL meaning your uniform resource locator, in other words, the address at the top in your internet browser. Right, so public key and private key. SSL uses public keys and private keys. So when a user needs a website's encryption, if a user needs a website's encryption key to decrypt any information, then the website needs the user's encryption key. No. Okay, we're getting confused here. Hey, yes, it is quite a confusing concept, isn't it? Basically, websites use private keys and public keys to encrypt and decrypt information. First of all, the public key, meaning public. Any message you send on the internet contains a public key. Hackers can see this public key, but they cannot unlock information encrypted with the public key. So they can't unlock it because they need your private key. Now your private key is a different key to a public key. It's kept secret on your computer and never shared with anyone. So when your computer visits a website, you exchange public keys. So You send the website your public key, and the website sends you its public key. And when the website sends you information, well, first of all, when the website then sends you information, it encrypts it twice. First, the website encrypts it, in other words, encodes it with its private key and with your public key. Yeah. So it's encrypted twice, with the website's private key and with your public key. So you need the website's public key to decrypt the information. So your private key, let's go and talk about the private key now. The website's public key is public. So you can remove the first set of encryptions with the public key, but your private key can be used to remove the last set of encryptions from the information. So your private key will do the full decryption only on your computer. When you return a message to the website, you encrypt it with your private key and the website's public key before sending it. So remember that both you and the website each have a public key, and you each have your own private key. So when you send a message to the website, you encrypt it with your own private key and the website's public key before sending it. And the website needs your public key and its own private key to decrypt it. So basically, that is there. If the website, for instance, like the website has a public key, okay, and sending you information that's together with a public key, the hackers can see it, but they can't see all of it. But you can decrypt the rest of it with your own private key when you receive a message from a website. So only you can remove the last set of encryptions with your private key. So the hackers don't have your private key because it's kept secret on your device. So only your computer can fully decrypt. And when you go and send a message back to the website, you encrypt it first with your own private key and with the website's public key before sending it. So the website therefore needs your public key, but then it uses its own private key to decrypt it. Yeah, sounds confusing, doesn't it? But there you have it. So in this way you can send information to a website that only it can decrypt, and it decrypts it with your public key and its own private key. So this is where the private key comes in. Right, certificates and security. Before your browser can encrypt and anything and send any data to a website, basically your browser is going to request the website's Ssl certificate. So before any data transfer can happen, your browser, like Google Chrome or whatever, has to check on the websites that you want to connect to that Ssl certificate, and this certificate helps to prove that a website is legitimate, prove the website's identity. So Ssl certificate must be applied for. The website must apply, if they want one, they must apply for a certificate with a certification authority. And all Ssl certificates must contain the domain name or subject the certificate is valid for, in other words, the website name, the certificate authority who created the certificate, and the date that the certificate is valid for. The purpose of these certificates. Well, before you can even send any personal or encrypted information to a website, your browser is going to first compare the certificate with a whole lot of certificates on the certification that it receives from a certification authority. Finds any mistakes, it will warn you that the certificate is received is not legitimate and stop you from sending personal information. So Ssl therefore not only ensures information you send and receive is encrypted by using certificates, it also ensures the encrypted information is only sent to correct valid websites and not to malicious or phishing websites. So SSL is has a double-barreled gun, so to speak, because it does encryption, but it also uses certificates to ensure that the website is legitimate. Right, another way to protect our computers using firewalls. So firewalls prevent malicious users and viruses from sending and receiving data to your computer. So that's a general description of a firewall, and there's three general types of firewalls. You have firewalls that are on your computer, your single computer, that's called a software firewall. Then you have a firewall that's installed on a server or a router that protects all the computers on a network, that's a software firewall too. And then you also have hardware firewalls that are stored between a local network and the internet. So that would be a hardware firewall that's going to protect all computers on the network from between the network and the internet. Okay, they allow any data you request or send to go through the firewall while blocking any unrequested information from passing through the firewall. So it allows you to access the internet as normal, but stops malicious users from sending viruses to computer. So when you run a new computer, your firewall will ask you whether you can allow this program. Most operating systems have a built-in firewall, so you don't need to worry about installing a separate one. But you set it up and you make sure that only you allow programs to pass through the firewall. So you have access to the settings of that on your standalone computers. And I'll see you later.